Hey guys, welcome back to Agency Crypto. You know, right now, most people are not paying attention to crypto unless they're more in the hardcore group because nothing is going on. So the main crowd that gets involved in crypto, the retail people, are notoriously getting involved at the top. And then when the markets sell off, they lose interest because they don't know how to make money when the markets are going down. They don't hear stories about people making money anymore. All they're hearing is people now losing their money. And this is an average person mentality. Average people don't get rich. So the time to get rich and position yourself to get rich is right now when nothing's going on. Like when the markets are down here and even lower. And very few people do that. And that's exactly why very few people get rich in crypto or anything else for that matter. Now, we still have a situation where nothing is going on right now. In the past couple of days, these candles are completely flat. We have a little bit longer until the weekly candle closes. You know, that's going to take place later, maybe 12 hours or so from now. So we'll see what happens. If I had to choose, I would favor a situation where the price kind of goes down and just kind of stays in this range right here. So that outlook hasn't changed. It could still go up from here. That's a very real possibility, but it doesn't really matter. So we're just kind of sitting tight as far as what's going on with Bitcoin. Overall, my general consensus is the same, which is that we go lower over the next 3 to 9 months, and we stop down here somewhere in the $50,000 range before we start this next bull run and go up from there. The trading bot is currently flat, which is to be expected because there's really nothing going on over here in Solana either. We look at this daily chart on Solana, literally the whole week, the price has just been doing nothing. So maybe on a 5-minute chart you could trade this, but I'm not messing with that right now. It's still sitting on the 1 hour time frame as far as where it's looking for trades. So the bot has not executed any trades. And I have not really seen anything to get too excited about either, so there's nothing going on here. So while we're waiting, I thought I'd take the time to talk about another strategy that I like. This is a version of the buy and hold strategy, and this is still a valid strategy. I mean, this strategy made me millions of dollars in 2017. So it still works today, but you have to go about it a little bit differently. When I first was doing this strategy, I basically just opened up the charts on Bittrex, which was the exchange that I was using back then, and I just started implementing this strategy. But now you can't really do that in the same way because there's so many tokens out there. So what we want to do is we want to narrow things down. So, this strategy simply involves finding a good token with a lower market cap, piling in a good position while it's at lower prices, and then waiting for that 10x. So it's very simple. But it's different from, say, like buying and holding Solana or Bitcoin, because these tokens are probably not going to 10x. These are a completely different strategy. I would say a more less risky strategy overall. You have Bitcoin, you have other strong tokens that have proven themselves like Solana. These tokens could go up, a few 100% or whatever. If Solana wants to go up to its old all-time high, that's a few 100% right there. You could go into other tokens that maybe are arguably just as established or are in the process of establishing themselves, not quite to Solana's level, but look like they could be doing that. Like SWI is one of the ones that I've got my eyes on. So if SWI just goes back to its old all-time high, there's 677%. That's a pretty good return, but it would probably go beyond that. So 1,000% gain, from just holding SWI, I think is realistic. And like I said, I did a SWI video. I haven't released it. It's still halfway through the editing process. It was in the same style as that Hyperliquid video, and it just was taking forever, and I lost interest. I'll try and complete that eventually, but just for the record, I think that this is a solid play to be accumulating a position in for this next bull run. But again, you have to know where that top is and when you should be looking at getting out. Hyperliquid is another good example. I really like Hyperliquid in addition to just looking like a strong token because it's a relatively newer token. So we have only a year's worth of history here that, like, this token has not had a proper move, so this is probably an easy 10x from here. most likely. There's no guarantee. But you know, a good 20x from here is realistic. We retraced from this top we made, and we kind of are sitting at a resistance, what was resistance and turned support. So this kind of general area that's back here, right? So we're at that level now. So this could be a good opportunity to accumulate some hyperliquid. But this is because these are all big market cap tokens. I'm talking about smaller market caps where you can get, you know, the 10x and probably a lot more than that, 20x, if not 100x. So the way that I would do this now, or the way that I do this now, is I go in here. So I go to CoinGecko, right? Then what we have to do is narrow this down is the problem, because there's just too many tokens. You know, like I said, when I was looking on Bittrex, I easily narrowed the entire exchange down to like a dozen tokens that looked promising. And from there, I only had to choose, you know, one token that I liked. Nowadays, you can't do that. You can't just go in here to CoinMarketCap and start looking through hundreds and hundreds of pages, you know, with 100 tokens on each one, and think you're going to find something in this lifetime. That's not going to work. So you have to narrow it down somehow. So what I'll do is I'll go to cryptocurrencies. I'll come in here and I'll choose maybe chains. So now what we're doing is we're drilling down from all the different tokens out there, and we're categorizing them by chain, right? So now all I have to do is say, well, which chain am I feeling bullish on and strongest about right now? Well, I already said that I liked SWI, so we could look at SWI. You know, you keep your eye on SWI because SWI, you know, has got a lot of good things going for it, you know, that I put in that video, which I haven't released yet. And so this is what I did, and I started narrowing down tokens. And the thing about this is that if you look at the SWI ecosystem and only the SWI ecosystem, you're going to be presented with a lot less tokens. So if we click on see all the SWI coins right here, we come down, and now we have 2 pages. So it tells you right here, 145 tokens. Well, that's a lot better than 1,000 tokens, right? So if you think that SWI is going to be a good one to watch, then you come in here and you just look at the SWI ecosystem only. You're already presumably familiar with and, you know, and confident in. You have the belief in the ecosystem, and this could be any ecosystem that you really feel strongly about. And then one of the first things that you could do is just look at the main DEX on that ecosystem, which in this case is it's Cetus. So the main DEX on any main chain like this is going to get good growth. So this would be a good one to potentially speculate on at these lower levels. But then the next thing that you could do is you go back and you find something like, literally, if you go through here, I found like a handful of tokens, like less than 10. And I started tracking those and categorizing them and found out which one do I think is going to be the best one. And one of the ones that I settled on, one of them was Talus. So Talus is an AI-based token. And when I was looking at it, it was under 10 million market cap. It was like 7 or 8 million. And so we see they're currently at almost 49 million, but they had this move here. So let's go back and look at the trading view charts. So Talus, I was taking a look at it back here in April. So April, somewhere in early April, right? And we went on from this level, well, even from this level, if you're looking at it in March, we just measure the total move. That's basically a 2,000% move in just a few months. So a 20x gain. So why was Talus one of the ones that I had chosen? And as you can see, it's sold off here, which is what my whole point and whole philosophy is of this channel is you want to have some basic trading skills so you can know that it's time to get out when you're getting up to this level right here. And you don't have to just hold your tokens all the way back down, because that doesn't even make any sense. Why would you do that? So one of the main things that stood out to me about Talus, aside from the fact that it's on SWI, and I'm bullish on SWI in general, was that number one, it's in the AI category, which is getting a lot of attention right now, right? So there's one good thing going for it. And another good thing that I liked was that if you look over here at the beginning, this token launched in December of 2025. You know, so by the time I'm looking at it over here in March and April, that's like 3-4 months, right? So, and on top of that, it's dropped since it launched. It's dropped in value. So you're getting a better price. And most importantly, because it's a newer token, it has not had a big pump yet. So some of these established tokens that have been around that people keep playing around with, they keep going back to, those could work out, but you're less likely, I think, overall, just because people look at that as it's already had its move. It's not going to do it again. Talus, maybe it will go up like this again, maybe it won't. If it does, it's not going to be as big of a move because you're not going to be able to buy it down here at these low prices. But there's still the good possibility that people just look at this and say that play has already been played out. Let me find the next hot thing that's brand new, that I can get into because it hasn't had a move yet. And that's just the way people think in crypto. So it literally doesn't even matter what the token does. A lot of times, if it's a new token and it's even remotely looks good, they put out some good information on their website or some good posts on X or whatever, promising, could just be all smoke and mirrors, right? It doesn't even matter. But it looks good. People will start piling into it. So if you can recognize that and you're willing to, speculate on that with a smaller, maybe you don't go all in on something like this, but you could take a portion of your overall funds and devote it to a strategy like this. Since this one has played out, I took the liberty to go ahead and see if we could find another one that looked, fresh, because this one is already expired, at least for now. And so let's look at Cetus. Here's Cetus. So this token has been played out, but at the same time, because it's the main DEX on SWI, it could still have a good, and the price is way down here, it could still have a good move. If we look at this, it could easily go back up 1,000% and not even reach its old all-time high. So if SWI really gets a good move, this Cetus being the main DEX could be a good play, especially if you're getting it at these prices down here. So this one's already been played out. So let's go back and see if we can find another one, which we can because I've already found it. It'd just be a matter if I can go back and find it again. And we'll also look at a different way to do this. So we looked at chains. We could also look at, for example, categories. And so I've already gone through and looked at to isolate one for this to bring you on this video. But what I did is I went through and we could look at whatever category we like. Real world assets could be good. I chose artificial intelligence because that is it's still a big category right now that I think a lot of money is going to go into. You got to be careful though with some of these. Like a lot of companies will just tag AI and they'll say that they're now an AI company just because they have one AI component to it, or they're working on an AI component just because they want to piggyback on this narrative that's really popular, like Chainlink here. I thought Chainlink was an Oracle project. I didn't know they were an AI company, but apparently they're lumped in here with AI. So we just want to be careful. Like when we're looking at this, if we're looking here, what I want to do is I want to sort these by market cap, because I don't want something that's already in the billions of dollars, because it's going to take too much to move that. So what I want to do is I want to come down here and I want to look for something that's closer to 10 million. So let's go to page 2. I want to be careful about some of these other ones that are like under 10 million or even under a million, because it's not like they're not worth looking at, but you need to be extra careful with those. 10 million, and that tells me it's already somewhat established and it could go either way, but at least it's got something going for it. So those are the ones we would want to target, or that I like to target. And then once I'm in that range, that category here, so now I've got the $10 million range, we're going up to 15, 16 million at the top of page 2. The next thing I want to look at is these graphs over here on the 7 days. I want to find something that's moving up, that looks like something is going on. And you can look at this here too. This is 73%, whichever you like. I'm more visual, so I like looking at these graphs, but you can look at these numbers here too, whichever stands out to you. So I'm looking for ones that are green and kind of look like something's going on, like the price is moving up. I'm avoiding these ones here like this because nothing's going on right now. If something was going on, they wouldn't be selling off like this. I'll come back and look at them later once they flatten out or turn green, but there's no point in wasting your time right now because there's too many tokens to be wasting your time. So these kind of tokens where we have this kind of movement, something's going on there, and it's just a matter of looking and finding out what it is. Is it a false alarm? Is it just some sort of a glitch? Or does it look like this token, this project has potential and you just happen to catch it at the right time? Okay, so we're going to look at Aeon here. It's just one that I happen to already look at. And what do we see here? First of all, the first thing that catches my eye that I want to know is, when did this token start? Well, July of 2026 the end of July 2026. So this is barely 2 weeks old. That is a critical factor that we want to have here. So then we want to look at some of these numbers, right? So we have the market cap, but what's the fully diluted valuation? You know, with all the tokens, 77 million. That's not too bad. Most of those tokens are locked up, so we can look at an unlock schedule later on, but at least it's not like 700 million, right? That would be a little more scary. We want to look at trading volume. It's got good trading volume right now. We look at where it's available. It's on quite a few different centralized exchanges, as well as the DEX. This is on BNB. So we have obviously the DEX here, but look at all the different centralized exchanges it's on. That's a good thing as well. So then what we want to look at, so already we've got a few good things that look interesting here. All these centralized exchanges, really good volume, but a low market cap. So then we would look at the website. We want to see, well, what the hell are they even doing? So you go through here and you just take the time, you go through the website and you find out what are they doing. So once you kind of get an idea, then you just go over to your favorite AI program, whether it's Grok or Claude or whoever the hell it is that you want to use. And you say, tell me about this token. And then you use the AI to do all the kind of the heavy lifting and do all the digging and give you the unlock schedule, who the competitors are they really unique? Is it, you know, all of the good details that used to take forever to dig up on your own, you can just have AI dig it up all for you in a matter of seconds. And so now you can get a much more educated idea of what this token is and what they're doing. So here's their chart for Aeon. And what do we see here? This is a daily chart. So here's the launch, and we got the July 27th. We've sold off a little bit. This looks a lot like Thales when they first launched, right? Launched, sold off. So we come back and we have the same basic thing. We launched and we sold off. So the key thing here is that this token hasn't pumped yet. And so my basic underlying theory for this particular style is that if a token hasn't pumped yet and it's a halfway decent token, there's a good chance that it's eventually going to pump. And if you can get it at a good price and get yourself a decent position, then if it does go ahead and do a 10x or a 20, 30x or something, you've now turned $1,000 into $10,000. You've turned $10,000 into $100,000. You turned $20,000 into $200,000. And people do this all the time in crypto. It's just a matter of being at the right place at the right time. You could also be trading as one, you could have multiple irons in the fire. But this is all I do, and I think it's a solid strategy that you could be implementing. It is time consuming. It is real work, but you don't get rich by getting lucky. You don't get rich by hoping and praying. You don't get rich by getting all excited because you see other people making money. That is amateur tactics. And the people who fool themselves into thinking that just because they show up, they're going to get rich, they're always going to be left disappointed. Those people that roll up their sleeves and say, you know what, I see a formula where I can put in the work and potentially get rich, those are the ones that will eventually get rewarded. And even better, if you have a community, which is what we want to build here with Agency Crypto, then you can actually cut out some of that work because now you have other people bringing you ideas. Like I just brought you this idea here. You can go and you can research this on your own and see what you think. If you find ideas, you can throw them into the comments section, of this video, and if it looks interesting, we can look at it in a future video. Eventually, we'll be building out a Discord, for Agency Crypto, and we can come in there and we can do the same thing. Because everybody's going to be looking at different things, so you may find a project that I may never even stumble across, or vice versa, right? So if we have a group of people who are all on the same page with what we're trying to do and what it is that we're looking for, then the odds increase that we're going to find those gems that actually do a 10x or even 100x eventually. So this video is already longer than I want it to be, so we'll stop that here and we'll pick up on the next video where we take another look at Bitcoin, see what's going on. We look at Solana, see what's going on. We keep an eye. We'll see if the trading bot picks up a trade here, because eventually this is something that I want to also share with this community here, so that you could run this on your own. But we'll keep an eye on all that stuff, and we'll continue to look at more of these along the way, especially if we get into a stagnant period with the markets where not much else is going on. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.